You're listening to the Business Building Rockstars Show, where your host, Nicole Holland, gets the lowdown from today's most talented, inspiring, and successful entrepreneurs on what it really takes to reach rockstar status.
Hey, this is Nicole Holland, and you are listening to episode 11 of the Business Building Rockstars Show. Today's episode is sponsored by Tough Cookies, my brand new membership community for entrepreneurs who are independent and motivated. And if you're looking for somewhere to turn where you're going to get the support and coaching that you're looking for to help you make business building decisions and to receive training and resources that are going to support your mission, visit bbrshow.com/cookie for more information. Today I'm hanging out with Lexi D'Angelo, and we're talking about how to overcome your fear of visibility and staying safe while feeling vulnerable. Lexi was incredibly vulnerable in this episode, and I really just want to acknowledge and appreciate her for sharing so much of herself with myself and you, my dear listener. If you are in the midst of struggle right now, or if you have been recently, make sure you listen and pay close attention to today's episode, because Lexi is a walking, talking example of what it's like to come out the other side and why burnout isn't always a bad thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this episode, so feel free to leave a review on iTunes or over at bbrshow.com. Without further ado, here we go. All right. Hello and welcome, entrepreneur. This is Nicole Holland coming to you with the Business Building Rockstar Show. I'm joined today by Lexi D'Angelo. She is a soulful strategist, a success alchemist who practices a little something she likes to call bizwoome. It's an innovative and new age craft that alchemizes strategy, soul, and spirituality into a unique magic. Her coaching clients love how she makes the mundane business tactics more enchanting and the mystical woo-woo elements way more practical. So if you are bored of just skimming the surface, you are in the right place, because Lexi will show you how to dive deeper into life and business and into a whole new realm. Lexi, I'm so excited. Woohoo! I'm so excited to have you here with me. And before we begin, got one question. Are you ready to rock?
I am ready to rock. Let's do this.
All right. So to get started, let's just tell me where you are right now, a little bit more about what you're up to in the world.
Yeah. So I would say, I am still you'll probably hear a little bit more about my story as we talk today, but I'm still in a little bit of a transition phase at the moment. So I have been a business coach for the past year or so, and I'm now, I'm still a business coach. I'm helping people launch their businesses, but I'm really incorporating, like, as you can tell in the intro, the more soulful woo-woo elements into my practice. And I'm actually studying with an astrologer. Her name is Deborah Silverman. She's incredible. And I'm going to be, a certified astrologer in the next few months. And so I'll be starting to incorporate more of those elements into my coaching practice as well. So I think we're always in this state of change and flux and always evolving, but I definitely know where I'm going now. So that feels really great, but I'm still, playing with the business and the woo-woo worlds and really figuring out how to mesh them together really powerfully.
I love that you had this trajectory and you were going and coaching, and you have only been a coach for a year, but you have done quite well in the year. True?
Thank you. Yes. But I mean, it's had its ups and downs, that's for sure. And I'm sure we'll dive into that even more. But I think also everything looks great on the outside, and there needs to be more talk about what's really happening behind the scenes. So I'm ready to get real and raw with that with you today.
Sweet. You are in the right place, because that is what we are all about here.
Awesome.
So you were going along and you hit six figures very quickly.
Yes.
And then you had this kind of recognition that you needed to have some more authenticity and shed some shit. And you're in that transition. And I just want to talk about that for a moment, the process of that transition. How did you know what you were doing was not the right way?
Yeah. So, I mean, all my life I've been a really competitive person, a high achiever, really just trying to crush my goals. And the competition in my way. And I realized that that is such a terrible way to live your life, really, because I realized I was starting to make other people's goals, aspirations, desires my own, because I was trying to prove something to myself or to other people out there that, like, if they can do it, I can do it, like, no problem. And that was fun for a little bit until it got old, and until it didn't feel like my own, because it wasn't, those weren't my own desires and my own goals. And so I just reached this point of complete burnout. I wasn't having fun inside of my business, and it lacked a certain depth that I was looking for. Like, I loved teaching the business tactics. I thought it was really fun, but at the end of the day, I was like, I really want to make even more deep and meaningful connections with my clients and just do something different. And I didn't know what that meant. And it was so bizarre because, as you said, as I hit six figures, it was the month that sucked the most inside of my business. And when that happened, it really forced me to take a look at what was going on, because prior to that month, or I should say in the beginning of the year, when I hit my yearly goal of reaching six figures, I thought that when that happened, my life was going to be made and my business was going to be a huge success and there was going to be nothing to worry about. And it was quite the opposite. So it was just a big reality check, and it took a lot of soul searching. And I was basically like almost out of commission for 3 months after that. So there was a lot that went on in those 3 months, but it was a really like dark time, I guess you would say, in my business. But in the darkness, you also see the light. So it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, because I was able to reinvent my relationship with my business and just reinvent my business overall. So it was really exciting too.
So, and we don't have to go there if you don't want, but
I'll go anywhere. I don't care.
All right, cool. Let's dig into that darkness a little bit more, because I think what happens is we hear successful entrepreneurs and successful celebrities, we hear people talk about the dark times. And once this thing happened and they hit burnout or they hit the rock bottom, everything changed. But we don't really talk about what that looks like. And so what I think a lot of our listeners may be going through are things that you've been through, things I've been through, things that all of the guests have been through. And we don't talk about it because it's scary and it's vulnerable and it's painful and we don't want to be judged and all this stuff. And, I was reading your story on your website, and I love how you did this like timeline and got more about that. And I think it would just be of value if we can talk about some of the things that happened, that you experienced when it was really dark. Because also, when we're in this, I think a lot of listeners too, you're in that space of, should I just go get a job? I'm trying, I'm pouring everything in. It hasn't happened for me in a year. And there's just that questioning. And then they feel intuitively pulled that they're like, there's something else. There's that burning desire, but they don't know how to make it happen. Caught up in, like you were saying, that achievement and that thinking, I have to have an answer. I have to have a result.
Yeah. So, I mean, just getting into like the nitty gritty mud of it all, it took a toll on like all of me. So it wasn't just like mentally where I was like, oh, like I'm stressed and I'm drained. Like it was like emotional, it was physical. I actually had multiple trips to the hospital during this burnout phase. Like I had terrible stomach problems. Like my anxiety was through the roof. Like I wasn't sleeping. I literally had to stop working out because my health was so bad that like my stomach, I was in so much pain. It was craziness. It was absolute craziness. And unfortunately, my bank account like hit rock bottom, a low that it hadn't been at in a really long time. So it was just like, almost like everything came crumbling down. Luckily, like not my relationship, or like any of my friendships or anything like that. But a lot of things were just really, really rough. And I was scared. I was really scared because I thought a couple months prior, I had finally found my thing. There was no looking back. I was, on this amazing trajectory, nothing could touch me. And then I was knocked down. And so I I had no clue where I was going moving forwards. And that was really scary because, again, like I had a whole plan in front of me. I had like a year plan, a 5-year plan basically, and all that just got completely wiped away. And so I had to kind of start again. And that was like really scary for me. But I think one of the biggest and the best things, and also the scariest things that I did during that time, was I shared what I was going through with my community at the time. So it wasn't after I went through burnout that I was like, oh, hey, guess what? I overcame burnout. Like, look at me. You can do it too. I was like, hey guys, I'm hitting burnout right now. This is exactly what's happening to me right now. As I'm typing this, like, I'm in a really vulnerable place. Like, I do not know what's going to happen. I'm scared to tell people where I'm at because I don't want people to start like unfollowing me and lose my, my tribe. But I want to be real because I'm sure some of you can relate. And so I just got really authentic and real with my people. And it was received so well. Like, they were just the best. Like, there was just nothing but an outpour of support and just people saying like, thank you for saying it how it is when you're experiencing this, because like, I'm going through this too, or I experienced that, but I couldn't tell anyone. And it's so nice that you're bringing it to light. And so it was a really incredible experience overall, but there was a lot of mixed emotions going on for sure.
Did you have any negative feedback? Like, was anybody like, oh, get a grip, girl, or anything like that?
No, which was shocking. Like there's always usually like something or someone who says something negative for the most part, but no, I didn't see it or hear it at least. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Now, were you concerned that might happen before you came raw? Was that a concern that held you back from sharing?
Of course. I mean, I think it always is, you, no matter who you are, you want to be liked, you want to be loved. And I was really afraid that, people would like say like, oh, like you're a fraud, or, oh my goodness, like, I don't even know. I'm sure at the time I had this whole story working up, and I did, but I almost at the point where I didn't care. I was like, well, I'm already at a low point. So
how much worse can it get?
Kind of like, honestly, that's kind of how I felt. But yeah, there was definitely that fear. I think that there's always that fear when you're being vulnerable and exposing yourself and sharing a piece of yourself that you haven't previously.
I think something that happens pretty common and that we don't talk about is when we do get to that place and we have those gremlin voices and we're like, well, I want to, but I can't because this might happen and that might happen. We stay stuck there. And I think that's what leads to those illnesses and that burnout and whatever, manifestations of things not being on point. And the more we concern ourselves with what could be, what could go wrong, or even the good stuff. Like I've heard people, I was talking with a client last night who was talking about not being ready to launch her program yet because she's not ready to answer 100 emails. Buddy, you don't have one yet. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We get ourselves into these stories about what could happen bad. And something that a friend of mine, Gina Gabellini, and a mentor, and she's, this is something Eva Gregory and Abraham Hicks, and it's a very widely respected practice of the what if up game. So rather than, well, what if down? What if I do? And then, people say I'm a fraud, and what if this and what if that? It's like, if we can shift that. And I think this is what you may have done, and go, what if that doesn't matter? What if people are supportive? What if people do love me? What if it, and the more you experience the positive, the more your picture gets bigger about what if.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I remember, and I shared this previously with people, I just had a breakdown one day and I just started writing. I opened up an Evernote document. I just started pouring like my heart onto it. And I'm like crying, like writing it. And then as I'm reading through it, I'm like, people need to see this side. They need to understand that it's not all like me and my like glamour shots and my photo shoots and like, yay, I just made $1 bajillion. Like, that's not the whole story. And so, yes, then I started to have like that internal dialogue of both sides of, well, what if they say this? What if they say that? And I'm like, you know what? I don't care, because if there is something positive that comes from this, or if this inspires someone else to talk about their story or helps someone feel better about where they're at right now, then that's like enough. And I always like do that with my clients too, because a lot of people have fear around visibility. And I'm like, well, by staying small and not putting yourself out there, you're not helping anyone. You're being selfish right now. And so I kind of had that conversation with myself. So, if this can just help one person, it's totally worth it. Let's do it.
Very cool. And And I think because you got to that point, which is why even if there are haters, they're not in your realm of reality.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody who's listening, whatever, even if you take one action today, tell yourself, okay, whatever I'm afraid of right now that's holding me back, I am going to play what if up, even for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to take action, and I'm going to do something that's really scary.
Yeah.
And because I know that if I am going up and not down, whoever's down here isn't going to reach me, because I'm above that at this point. I'm going up, up, up.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great takeaway. Do what she said.
Awesome. So let me take you back to childhood, because you've only been coaching for a year, but I think there's a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
You were building it before, but what about little Lexi? What did little Lexi want to be when she was going to grow up?
Oh, what didn't little Lexi want to be? I think my two biggest things were I wanted to be an actress and a writer. There is something about, I loved performing and I loved the attention on me. And I also really just loved being creative and getting lost in my worlds that I would create in these stories. Like literally ever since I knew how to write, I think I was creating storybooks and like all these crazy characters and plots. And my parents were like, what the heck is up with this girl? But yeah, I would always just get lost in my own worlds, like, or even like creating like things. I was always so creative. So I knew something that had to do with creating something interesting or a new world of some sort. That was always fascinating to me.
Very cool. And what about for the future? Do you have a bigger vision, or are you just like, I'm living in the moment right now and wherever I'm supposed to go, I'm going?
Yeah, I definitely have a bigger vision, and it's always changing too. So, which is fun, I think, but bigger vision, I mean, it's almost more of a feeling too. Of course, like there are certain things that I want to accomplish. Like I still love writing. I would totally love to write a book. I want to, grow my community, really hold incredible live retreats with people to really make those deeper connections with people. But again, it like comes back to this feeling of like deep connection and magic. And I know it sounds cheesy and corny, but when I just think about like the essence of what I want to create moving forwards, I always come back to those two things. And that might change, but that's what's been pretty constant. So nothing too detailed or cemented, but I think that's like, again, that's the exciting part about it. Our path is kind of always changing and winding, and we get to create what feels great for us at that time.
Awesome. And yeah, I don't think that's corny or weird or anything because, and I did probably 10 years ago, I did, because that was sort of like what I wanted and I couldn't hack that. And so I wound up stopping my practice, going and getting a job. Well, I was offered a job and it was like, I was manifesting all the things I needed to make me right about why my intuition was wrong. And so for 10 years, or 9 years, I worked in jobs. I didn't do what I was supposed to be doing. I held myself back. My burnout was massive and huge, and to a point where I couldn't walk, and now I'm being treated for lupus and crazy, crazy stuff that we do to ourselves. But I think it's so beautiful that you are able to really embrace that true you. And even though there might be some resistance thinking maybe people aren't going to get this, the more you step into it, the more your people are so getting it. And I know that there's listeners here that love me because I'm me. And it's like, I love that you are just shining this bigger light and allowing your creativity and your woo and your groundedness, your logical side and your illogical side. I think it's so fucking beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's fun. Yeah. I hate being, stuck in a certain mold or category. And I'm all about, tossing out those cookie cutters. So it's fun to just be able to do the biz and the woo. Most of the time people would say, well, you should focus on one. And I'm like, screw it. I want to do both. So doing whatever lights you up and what you're really passionate about is the biggest thing.
Definitely. Yeah. Should's a bad word, eh?
Yeah. I don't like that word. I don't listen to that word.
So tell me about bizwoome.
Yeah. So we're actually launching next week. We had a series of setbacks, as you do when you're, launching something new. It happens. But basically, it's really a collaborative effort. So I have some incredible contributors right now, both on the biz side and the woo side of things. And the intention behind it is just to really have a space for people to get access to the top information in both the business side of things and the more spiritual side of things. And really just cutting out the fluff and the bullshit, because there are so many resources out there. As you know, we're just being thrown so many different things at us every day. So if people are going to spend time going there, reading the content, watching the videos, I really want it to be impactful and them to walk away with knowledge that they didn't have previously, that they can take action on, and that is going to make a difference. So that's kind of the intention behind it. And again, I really love connecting with people. So just having that collaboration with the contributors has been so much fun. They're such powerhouses and such incredible people. So I definitely have an even bigger vision for where this is going moving forward. So it's exciting to see it finally come to life, because it's been in the works for a few months now.
Cool. And is it going to be a print mag or just online?
It's just online. So it's a multimedia magazine. So there's articles, there's PDFs, there's video, audio. So it's a whole combination of fun things.
And where can we find that at?
You can find it if you go to bizwoomag.com.
There we go. That's nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
So what was I'm going to go back a little bit again, all over the place. What was your first foray into entrepreneurship?
Gosh, I've had so many. It's ridiculous. I think my very first one was I started a blog for a little bit, but that was more of a side passion. In terms of monetizing something, I had a business called Ice Queen Cakes, and I made ice cream cakes and sold them. And this is when I was in college. So this was kind of funny. I bought a freezer for my dorm room in college so I could make these ice cream cakes and try and sell them. But oh gosh, it was a nightmare. Yeah, it was not profitable in the least. I lost a ton of money. It took me hours to make these beautiful cakes, and the ingredients were so expensive. It was funny. But it was one of those many things that now looking back, the dots are connected. At the time, it made no sense. I had no idea where I was going, but through the process, I learned how to market my stuff. I was featured on a TV show for it. I had to build my own website. So in social media. So that was 5 or 6 years ago, but that only helped me in doing what I'm doing now. And I've had so many other random entrepreneurial pursuits in the past too. So
like what?
So I made my own jewelry for a while and tried to sell that. I made my own greeting cards. Again, I had my own blog for a while. I'm sure there's a couple other things that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I was all over the place, to be honest. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was in the 9-to-5 and I hated what I was doing. I was so not lit up by it. So I had to have these projects on the side to fuel that creativity.
So you were doing all of these things while you were still working a job to transition? Okay.
Yeah. I was hoping that they would somehow get me somewhere, but I didn't really have a plan or a strategy, and they all fizzled out. And so the biggest joke was when I was becoming a coach was, oh, here Lexi goes again, doing one of her things. And I was like, no, I'm serious this time. And people didn't believe me, but
you're serious.
I was serious. I am serious. Yes, definitely.
Very cool.
Funny. Yeah. It's been a funny road that I've taken.
What was the kind of light bulb moment where you decided that you had to be a coach, or you had to do something for you and you could not work in the 9-to-5 anymore?
Yeah, it was, oh my God, it was such a light bulb moment. So I had gotten into CrossFit in 2014, the beginning of 2014. And so I was really into my health and my wellness, and, was diving into that world. And then one day I remember I worked out, I came home, and as I was about to get in the shower, a thought struck me. What if, God forbid, you were only to have a year left to live? Would you still be doing what you're doing now? I don't even know where this came from, but I freaked out and I was like, hell no, there's no way I would be doing this. What am I doing? And I really freaked out. And really tried to think about like what it is I would be doing. And all I knew is that I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to, at the end of the day, help people in some way, some form, and also be able to be creative. No details. And so I remember just praying, like, dear God, if there is a God, please give me some direction on where to go. And the next morning I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across this thing called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I was like, what's that? Basically a school for health coaches. I was like, what's a health coach? And I looked into it and it blew my mind. I had no idea that this coaching world even existed, that people could get paid to like help people with their health and their wellness. And so that was like the really light bulb moment. And then from there, everything changed.
Very cool. And how long did it take you from the time you had that light bulb moment to when you actually walked away from your job?
Oh, probably a little less than a year, because I enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in June 2014, but it was kind of like a hobby. I wasn't really serious about creating a business. And then it was October 2014 that I was like, all right, I really don't want to be in the 9-to-5 anymore. I'm going to get serious. And that's when I didn't really waste much time figuring it out on my own. I realized after a couple of weeks, like it wasn't happening. So I hired a coach like right away. And so then I quit my job like 3 months later. So it was a very fast progression.
What do you attribute the number one support in building your business successfully?
Absolutely having a coach of my own. I mean, I first started off with a group program and also had some one-on-one coaching from that coach as well. There's no way I would have been able to do what I've done without getting the support of my coaches. And, you know, I went on in January 2015 to enroll in like a high-end year-long program. And I've reinvested in that coach this year. I just believe that you need to continue to be learning, and you need to also invest in yourself, both by people who you see have had the success that you desire and have the similar values, like, you know, their lifestyle is the way that you want your lifestyle to be, because it's more than just like the money in the business. So that's something that I think has just changed everything. And surrounding myself with like-minded women who are inside of these programs, because my friends from home are amazing. They're such incredible people, but they don't get what I'm doing. So just having that support for the ups and the downs, those two things have just been monumental.
Awesome. And favorite book of all time?
Oh my goodness. Favorite book of all time? Oh, that is so hard. I guess, well, my first reaction was The Golden Compass, which is, I just love fantasy books. But if you're talking more business type of thing, I would say The Big Leap or Leveraging the Universe. They're two classics that I always go back to.
Very nice. And in terms of your business, favorite online tool?
Oh, this is Asana. I am obsessed with Asana right now, just because I'm also about to launch a course. And so just being able to organize everything with all my team members, it's like a lifesaver.
Nice. And favorite social media platform? Because you're everywhere.
Yeah. So Facebook is my biggest platform, and it is like where I get the bulk of my clients, but I've been having so much fun with Periscope and Snapchat. Particularly Snapchat. It's been a fun one to explore over the past couple of weeks. I don't know. I just love social media, all of them.
Very cool. So we're going to wrap up. I so appreciate your time. Why don't you let us know where people can find out more about you, get connected, learn about your programs and all that jazz?
Yeah, definitely. If you go to lexidangelo.com, you can find out all the information for all of my programs. And I also have a few fun free offers on there for you to explore. So if you click on the Get Started page, then you'll know where to go.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. Thanks for having me, Nicole.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, make sure to subscribe on iTunes so that you don't miss another episode. And if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, it's super easy to do when you subscribe on iTunes. Also, we're on Stitcher. And of course, you can visit bbrshow.com for all of the episodes, show notes, and more. I would love to hear what you think about today's episode by leaving a review on iTunes, or also you can go to bbrshow.com, and on our show notes page, there is a comment section. Dear listeners, I do this show for you, so the more you let me know what you love, the more I can bring you that. Again, today's episode is sponsored by my brand new membership community called the Tough Cookies. If you're an entrepreneur who is determined and committed to making your dreams come true, and you're looking for a no-nonsense place to get the resources and support that you need, come on over to Tough Cookies. You can find out more by visiting bbrshow.com/cookie, or if you're in the US, you can text the word cookie to 33444. Again, that's COOKIE to 33444, and you'll get more information that way. I appreciate you tuning in, and I look forward to reconnecting with you for episode 12, where Navid Moazzez and I talk about what it's like to really be a lifestyle entrepreneur from his brand new home in Barcelona, Spain. Until then, have a great day.
And there you have it. If you enjoyed this episode of the Business Building Rockstars Show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss a thing. And visit bbrshow.com for all the show notes and links to resources discussed on today's show. Plus, lots more.